Hey guys, Richard Blaine here. Thanks for stopping by my easy cooking channel tonight. Tonight I'm going to make another Italian dish. Obviously, those of you that view and subscribe to my channel know that I like making Italian and Asian dishes. And tonight I'm going to be making an Italian dish. It's a recipe that was sent to me from one of my viewers. Her name is Marie Savino. She comes from the land of Wanda, the land down under. She comes from Australia, okay? And she's watched a lot of my Italian recipes, and about a year ago, she said, I watched your bone marrow recipe, and I have an Italian baked bean recipe for you that uses bone marrow in it. So she sent it to me, I looked it over, I said, you know what, I'm gonna make it. And now that the weather here in Vegas is getting cold, okay, some nice hot baked beans would really be a really nice stick to your ribba, is like the Australians would say. So tonight I'm going to be making Italian baked beans. These are not baked beans like you're accustomed to. This is not American baked beans with ketchup and brown sugar and pieces of pork or bacon, okay? It's going to be white cannellini beans, and there's going to be tomato sauce, okay? And there's going to be some bone marrow and some Italian spices. But this isn't going to be your sweet pork and beans, because there's going to be beef in it, and there's going to be bone marrow. It's more along the lines of a Southern Italian, or maybe even a Tuscan-style baked bean, and I think you'll enjoy it very much. So as usual with YouTube, unlimited minutes. Let's get going, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay guys, so here are the cannellini beans, okay? I have a cup and a half of cannellini beans that I've soaked overnight, about 16 hours altogether. I soaked them overnight. By the time I went to bed last night, which was really early, and I strained them and I rinsed them off, no salt, and I put them in some fresh water, and I'm bringing the fresh water to a boil, okay? And then when it comes to a full boil, which it's just about at a full boil right now, I'm going to bring it to a medium-high simmer so that it doesn't come over the top of the pan. And I'm going to cook these beans for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, okay guys, now while the beans are cooking for the 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to stick these marrow bones in the oven, okay? I'm just going to add a little bit of salt, okay? There's a little bit of olive oil in there, but that's okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of white pepper, okay, to those marrow bones. That's it. I'm going to stick it in the oven, 400 degrees, for the same 15 or 20 that the beans are going. Then I'm going to take these, I'm going to set them aside to let them cool so I can scoop out the marrow and excess meat. And then I'm going to take the beans and strain them and set them aside too, so that I can brown up some beef for these beans. So let's get going, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay guys, so the marrow's been cooked. The beans have been cooked to a particular point. Now I'm going to cook up some beef chunks with a little bit of oil on a high heat. You can flour them if you want, but it's not necessary. I'm going to brown up this meat in this enamel-coated cast iron pan. Okay, then I'm going to deglaze and move on to the next step. Okay, so I've browned up the meat and I've got some fond in here. And what I'm going to do to the fond is add our aromatics: carrot, celery, onion, our pois, or pois, okay? Our classic Holy Trinity aromatics. Okay, and I'm going to stir these around. Okay. I added just a little touch of olive oil, okay, to what was in the pan. And I'm going to leave this on high heat and stir it around frequently until the onions become translucent. And then I'm going to move on to the next step. Okay. The onions have become translucent, so now I'm going to add my garlic. Oh yeah. Anywhere between 4 to 8 cloves of garlic. There we go. I'm going to get that garlic in there. Want that garlic to get fragrant. And I'm going to add a little pepperoncino. Okay. Just because everybody knows I like a little warmth. Alright. Now I'm going to stir this around till the garlic and the pepperoncino gets fragrant. And then I'm going to deglaze. About 2 minutes. Alright. I'm going to add a little white pepper instead of black, because I'm using white cannellini beans. So I'm going to add the white pepper in with the garlic and the pepperoncino. Give it a different kind of a flavor layer. Mix it around about a minute or two, and then it's going to be time to deglaze. Alright, I'm going to add some freshly crushed salt, sea salt. Alright, and the white pepper's there. I'm going to mix this up. Look at all that brown goodness. Alright, I'm going to cook this for about another minute, and then it's time to deglaze. Alright. Oh, God, it smells so good. Everything is nice and fragrant, and it's time to deglaze. Okay. That there is 1 cup of Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay. You can use any red wine you want, but I prefer dark reds. Get that brown off the side walls of the pan. Oh yeah, here we go. Get it all deglazed. I'm going to reduce the wine by about half, and then I'm going to add some stock and some other ingredients, and then the beans and the marrow and then the meat, and we're going to bake it in the oven. But oh, lovely. This is just a lovely, lovely deglaze. All right. Get that fond off the sides. The lovely aroma of the aromatics. The lovely aroma of the Sauvignon. I am going to cook this for about 1 to 2 minutes. Get it to reduce, get the alcohol to burn off, and we're going to move on to the next step. All right, guys. So the alcohol has reduced, and I'm going to add 2 cups of beef stock. You can use veal stock if you can get it. I couldn't get it, so you can use, beef. You could probably even use chicken stock if you want. And then I'm going to add about 12 ounces of passata, non-flavored tomatoes. Okay, not tomato paste, but tomato sauce with flavor, just pureed tomatoes. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, and I'm going to add some bay leaves to it. We're going to stir these in. Here's some basil and some oregano, dried. You can use fresh, but I didn't have fresh, so I'm using dried. Okay, and I'm using a little bit of dried thyme because I didn't have fresh, and that's okay. You use what you have on hand. Now, I'm going to stir these herbs in and get them to take on some of the liquid so it'll hang in the broth. Okay, and then I'm going to add the beans, and then I'm going to add the marrow and meat, and that'll be about another minute. I want these dried herbs to get inundated with the water to make sure they stay in the suspension, and they will. But I need to wet them a little bit, and I need to heat them. So I'll be back in just a minute. All right, guys. So this mixture is just coming up to a boil, and to that I'm going to add bone marrow and whatever meat I trimmed off the bones. There we go. Like I said, this isn't your usual pork and beans. This is Italian baked beans. There goes the bone marrow. Okay, bone marrow, meat. Okay, whatever I trimmed off the bone. There's going to be a flavor layer right there. A little bit of salt. All right. A little bit of white pepper. Okay. give that a stir, get that marrow in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, smelling so good. And then I've got some beef, the beef that I browned earlier. That's going in. Oh my God. With all the juices. Okay. Gonna stir that around. Okay. Gonna bring this up to a boil and then down to a simmer. And then we're gonna add our last ingredient, the beans and some bones. So hold on tight. Oh, this smells so delicious. It's ridiculous. Oh my God, I'm hungry. Okay guys, so at this stage, the mixture right now is beginning to boil. And then I'm going to put it on a simmer. But before I do, I need to add the cannellini beans. Now, I soaked these cannellini beans overnight, no salt. Okay? I soaked these cannellini beans overnight, no salt. Okay? But they're still raw. Okay? They've only been soaked. They haven't been cooked. Okay? So, I'm going to mix them gently, moving the spoon. I'm going to mix them into this lovely red mixture. Italian baked beans. Okay, there we go. Now, I still have plenty of room left. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of bones. Okay, I'm going to add a couple of bones for flavor. Oh my God, and such flavor. It's going to be ridiculous. All right, so I got to choose a couple of good ones. Here we go. Here we go. Here we are. Okay. There we go. Okay. You could add a couple more if you want, if you have. Get some of that dark marrow going. All right. So, then I push the bones down, okay, or I get them to set, there we go, I get them to settle down into the baked bean mixture, and they will be removed at the end, okay. Now, what I want is for the baked beans to suck up all the juices in the cooking process, and chances are you might have to add a little extra beef stock, like I'm doing right here, just a splash. Just a splash. Incorporate it into the mix. The bones, the meat, the beans, the herbs, the spices, the pois. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Best baked beans I've ever had in my life. All right. There we go. Now, I'm going to simmer this on top of the stove right now for about 5 minutes at a light simmer. And then I'm going to transfer this into the oven for 2.5 hours to bake. But I'm going to simmer it on medium, throw it into the oven to bake for 2.5, and I'll see you when it's all done. Okay guys, there it is. This is Italian baked beans, okay? They're done. They've been cooking in the oven for about an hour and a half, okay? I'm going to remove the bones, and then I'm going to spoon myself a bowl, and it's going to be really delicious. So hang on tight, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, there you have it. Italian baked beans. This ain't your usual baked beans. This is not pork and beans. This is not sugar with pork and beans. This here is Italian baked beans, okay? And this is delicious. This is unlike any other baked bean recipe I've ever had. It's not sweet, okay? There's no ketchup. There's no sugar. There's no mustard. This here is Italian baked beans. It's savory, okay? It's got thyme, okay? It's got basil, okay? It's got oregano, all right? Salt and pepper and a little pepperoncino. but it's not like your typical American baked bean. So I want to thank you for stopping by. I hope you make this recipe. This is absolutely delicious. This is like the best baked bean recipe I've ever had in my life. So I hope you make this recipe. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Hey guys, Richard Blaine here. Thanks for stopping by my Easy Cooking channel tonight. I hope you make these Italian-style baked beans. The bone marrow is just going to add so much flavor to these baked beans. Okay, so you got the basil, you got the oregano, you got the thyme, and the salt and the pepper, and the meat, and the flavor from the bones. This is by far the best baked bean recipe I've ever had. So I want to thank you for stopping by. I hope you make this recipe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.